On today's Minute of the Apes, I can safely say that after almost 25 years of friendship with Sean, that he's almost like another wife. He's either really sexy or kind of annoying.
And I'll add, Sean is probably the only other man that texts me after 10 p.m. besides my husband.
You're welcome.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, a daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. It's Thursday, and that means I'm Todd. Who are you guys?
Wait, if this means Thursday means you're Todd, what are you on the other days?
I can't tell you. I might have to kill you.
Okay. All right. I'm Sean.
Oh, I'm Richard.
right.
Well, is Thursday just our alter ego day, or is it...
Do you have an alter ego?
I wish I did. I want one so badly. I'm not cool enough for one.
Did I do about the time I dressed in drag on an airplane?
Oh, well,
Wait,
no. Hello.
The time or how?
One of the
You
times.
want to limit the time?
All right, so now you got to tell this story.
Well, we'll save it for the in-between.
Okay, the in-between this week will be Richard dressing in drag on an airplane. Not just dressing in drag, but on an airplane.
Yeah.
All right, so we are up to minute 14. Sean, tell us what's going on with minute 14.
All right, we're starting with a good morning, Arthur, and ends with Dr. Dixon opening a drawer.
All right, let's listen to Dr. Dixon's drawer opening, minute 4, Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Good morning, Arthur.
Good morning.
The female's a bit uppity, sir.
Oh? Okay, I'll be careful. I see you prepared the Wisconsin multiphasic. We'll begin with that. Go easy now, Stevie.
Oh, they look pretty docile to me.
Yes, but don't take any chances. Unless the spacecraft was remotely controlled, they must have been conditioned to push at least some of the right buttons. I mean, they can't be morons. All right, we'll take the female first. Arthur, would you set up a chess?
All right, as of minute 14, we have a planet's worth of humans plus 3 apes. So now, looking at the check marks, we know the male is Dixon for sure, and the female is Brandon. So we have established who is who.
I found that so they walk in, they put their lab jackets on. We
Yes.
get to see his wonderfully red sweater tucked into his slacks with no belt.
Oh!
Right. Where it was that
You
era.
can feel eyes twitching.
It was that era where everything was kind of narrow, so he's got like a little bit of a muffin top going on, just because you shouldn't really tuck your shirt into your pants with no belt and in tight clothing. That make it sound more exciting than it is, and it's just, well, maybe I don't. And I just found it funny that they had a chalkboard that they had to mark their names off of, and I'm sitting here thinking, why? Are you about to be mauled so badly by an animal that the only way they'll be able to identify you is by looking at the board and seeing your check mark on there?
I wondered that too. I really did pause it and think, what's the purpose of that? And I finally really trying to work through it. Besides giving an actor busy work,
Yeah.
it has to be that way that anybody that came into it simply know what doctor was there. It's simply that kind of mark. Oh, I know this doctor somewhere in here. They're on duty today. But it comes
They
off
didn't
as
do
so
one of those
remedial.
tiny-
No, it was very elementary school.
Yeah, hello, chick.
President.
Which also brings
President.
always brings up that I hate the feeling of chalk in your hand. I remember that when I get called up to the front.
You
You
do
do
like
that,
a
and
math
that
problem or
dust of it
whatever?
was just like, ugh. In fact, I almost get shivers of it thinking, don't you have anything tactile like that to you that just you don't like to touch?
Vagina?
It took two movies in 14 minutes for you to truly almost make me vomit with laughter. Okay, that was minute 14 and Richard wins. I don't think I can come back from that.
All
So
right.
you win. Richard wins.
Thank you.
We are finished laughing.
All right, so we've got apes in a cage. We've got doctors outside of a cage.
So despite all their rage, they are still just some
Apes in a cage.
You wanted to talk about it? He got named, right? His first line is...
Yes.
We got
Dr.
Arthur.
Dixon, Dr. Branton, and then he replies with
Hello,
Dr.
Arthur.
Branton. Yeah.
Or good morning, Arthur.
Yeah, so we know he's Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
Is a little bit that they're trying too hard with that haircut to make him look like he's Arthur from the old night times. I mean, what the... Still, I just don't understand the look. Who was that? Was it Emo Phillips that was that comedian
With
that
a
had a little
bob kind of haircut, yeah.
That's what I keep
The
thinking
guy
of.
that talks like this.
Do you wonder if maybe they had already hired this actor and then they get on set? They had to okay, we need to fix this. We can't have him
They
look
said,
this
all
shabby.
right,
We'll
John
just do a
Denver just
come-over."
dropped out, so we got to get this guy in here.
But maybe it was kind of a last minute choice direction for the actor once he got there, and they wanted a different look for him.
Or maybe that's just his hair. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look at his IMDb stuff while
See
we
if
talk.
he's been in anything else or what he's been in.
I'm going to find Arthur on IMDb, and we're going to find out. You guys
All
take
right,
it
while
from
you're
here.
looking
I'm
that-
researching.
While you're looking that up, so we're going to start doing a test now with these apes, the legendary Wisconsin multiphasic.
So well, I want to mention something that Arthur says before that, but let's talk about the Wisconsin multiphasic while
Todd's doing some research.
looking up
Yes.
this particular actor. So I did a little bit of a search, and I found out there's an actual book called Planet of the Apes and Philosophy, Great Apes Think Alike, author John Huss, and he actually mentions the Wisconsin multiphasic in it. I'm just going to kind of read from the text here. The first test is called the Wisconsin multiphasic, in homage to two well-known and well-respected psychological tests, the Wisconsin card sorting task and the Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory. In the real Wisconsin task, subjects are asked to identify and respond to patterns presented in cards. The more they are said to have good executive function akin to outright intelligence. The Minnesota multiphasic is a completely different kind of test. It is several hundred question-long psychological survey aimed at discovering the inner workings of your personality. I love the fact that Paul Dane, he didn't have Google, right?
Yeah.
He would have a little
Somebody
Google
had
search.
to know about this somehow.
He had to have read about these two things, and he decided to smash these two concepts together. I'd be curious to find out, if Dane had actually studied any of this, whether he just kind of he just picked up a journal and grabbed two words and threw them together.
Yeah.
It's just kind of fascinating. Very, very specific.
Or if he went and said, all right, if you were going to test these apes, what would you do? I do these tests. Well, let's combine those into one.
The original, the Minnesota multiphasic, we'll just blame it on the fact that Paul Danes was British and he didn't know Minnesota from Wisconsin and just threw
There you
Wisconsin
go.
there. So maybe it wasn't actually meant to be an homage to two different tests. Maybe he just couldn't remember Minnesota. I forget Minnesota often.
Yeah. You try to.
So I actually thought about this morning. My dad's a psychologist, and I really did think about calling him up and asking him what this might be. I didn't have the time to do it, and he'd probably tell me I was an idiot for even worrying about it. But you know what? It at least brings some authenticity to the moment. The one thing that I question is in the way that, and I'm sorry, which now is it Dixon is the male?
Yes.
Dixon. I'll just remember Dixon.
There you go.
The way he's like, oh, you set this up. It's like, oh my God. Why is he so, oh, well, you set it up. I think we'll begin here. In other words, why doesn't he just turn and go, oh, okay, let's get the Wisconsin multiphasic thing in here and, and treat it more conversationally instead of informationally.
The whole setting up of it is pull a flap down or up and put things in the box. I mean, it's not hard to set up.
Right.
Well, okay, let's step back and say that we've had a moment after the Arthur left, after she smacked the banana out of his hand. We have some time passing, and we don't know if he set up the Wisconsin multiphasic after that moment or before that moment. But let's assume that he did it after that moment, and that's how those magic blocks got that they're sitting on in the cages, that maybe he moved those in there.
Yeah.
It just seemed like the blocks perfectly mirror the test with the use of the blocks, like multicolored larger blocks that they can sit on. It was just kind of unique. What I was kind of confused, or I would say not bothered, but I just love that he says to Dr. Dixon, the female's a bit uppity, sir.
Yeah. So why don't we just all walk into the cage with no problems at all? Because we have an uppity we have a depressed gorilla over here, and we've got some uppity apes over here. Let's just stroll in.
But I mean, uppity is a very, very racial, has a very racial charged connotation.
True.
I mean, it was like, we're already distinguishing these apes as potentially black or as a woman.
I didn't catch that because
was it gender or race?
You're absolutely right that is the connotation to it, and I didn't catch that because we don't use that term in that way anymore. Uppity, at least today.
Well,
in today's,
at least educated people, at least non-racist people don't.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I just don't hear it very often, but you're absolutely right to catch it. going back to our Arthur, he was Marshall Stewart. And apparently, I've gone to the Ape Wikipedia, and I had to go that far. He's not on IMDb.
Really? Okay.
It's apparent that this may be his only credit. If anyone out there is listening and knows different, please tell me. But I've done 2 or 3 cross-references, and I can find nothing. So he is going to live immortally as having that hair naturally.
All right.
That is my opinion at this point.
Not style. That is what he walked
Maybe he's an actual zoo attendee. Maybe he wasn't an actor. Does it say what he did? He might actually be an employee that they just kind of like...
No, all it says is Marshall Stewart appeared and escaped from the Planet of the Apes playing the role of the orderly at the zoo. That's really all it says. You know what? I'm going to go back to IMDb and see if they have an orderly at the zoo.
Link to find out, see if he has more.
Would you like to find out more?
No, the uppity is very much a racial thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can pair it with words to hear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
know what the next word is. Yes.
Yeah. So there was a weird way of phrasing what the scenario is about to hit with Dr. Lewis and Stevie. The other thing that I found interesting is after he says, I see you prepared the Wisconsin multiphasic. We'll begin with that. Stevie, they kind of start to open the cage, and I found it kind of inappropriate that Dr. Dixon kind of touches her arm to pull her
out
back.
Of the cage. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little, I mean, it's a little, I think about my employees, and I think about my employees specifically, and I would not physically touch one of my employees to stop them from doing something. I would tell them. Now, a close friend, I would. Like, if you were walking a cage, I might pull you back, but just a little bit.
She's not necessarily an employee. They're colleagues.
Correct.
Yeah.
And she's the assistant to it, so maybe he feels the need to kind of control it. Again, we're also looking at a film released in 1971, so the attitudes of men to women are vastly different than what we have now.
It was very, very protective.
Yeah.
So they get to the cage. Zero is still standing, and Cornelius and Unknown Ape are now sitting. They're still sitting on the benches. The blocks are in there. We're finally getting all 5 of these people into one shot. She just, and it may be because Zero is just kind of standing and staring at them, that he's telling them to move with caution. Mm-hmm. They're now confronted with the fact that the apes are wearing clothes.
And so I had a note about that too, that not only wearing clothes, but they're particularly tailored clothes. It's not just a loose cloak type garment. It is something that fits to their form. It has some kind of symbol on it on the chest.
Isn't this? I mean, this is the clothes that they had in their carpet bag, right? Yeah. So this is their clothes that they took from the future to the past. So of course it's tailored to them.
That would be the first thing, though, that when I walked in, if I'm a scientist and I'm walking in, wait, that's the clothes?
Yeah.
Holy crap. I've never seen clothes like this.
Yeah.
They're wearing little leather pouches that have some kind of writing on it, whether that says Nike and ape language or whatever, but
it's not an S in my language.
No.
It stands for hope.
There you go. It's something. And they seem now just to wax completely past that because they want to get to their test.
But I as an animal psychologist, I would have looked at the scenario and I would have been talking to Dr. Branton or Arthur about what's been going on. I mean, there's this whole lack of conversation that is not happening that I would have been having with a peer about what's going on. What am I looking at? What's happening here? They are wearing clothes. Oh, they're right. The report's right. They're wearing clothes. Let's see how far this, something like that. They're wearing clothes. Let's see how far this extends. Let's pull out the Wisconsin multiphasic and set it down and see what's going on. So I had noticed behind Arthur that the desk was there with the stool turned upside down the moment before. So that's when we get the desk kind of moving in, and it's got, it's kind of it's a little bit smaller than a desk, and it's got kind of a metal,
it's a shade, like a
shade,
rectangle.
Shade hanging from a metal rectangle.
Right.
And he pulls the stool off, sits down. Zero promptly grabs a red block stool,
sets
herself down because she knows what's happening.
But of course, they're going to dismiss that as the imitative behavior. I sat down, she pulled up a block and sat down.
Well, when she does sit down, we do have a moment with Dr. Dixon where he turns kind of and looks at a little befuddled at Dr. Branton. Dr. Branton. He does kind of look at her like this, and she kind of looks at him again. They're doing a lot of this. Let's turn and look at each other.
Right.
Let's turn and look at each other.
So the minute ends before we get Zara choosing anything. We get the blind pulled on her, correct?
The blind is pulled down, and I think he then sets out the blocks and shows the first block to her. Is that?
I don't think he ever raises
that's the next
it.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah. He raises it the next one. when and I've seen this film 1,000 times, but really dissecting Zira as we have, I really expected her to snatch that blind right back up like, bitch.
I did too. So let's think about this.
Or I expect her